Yo, everyday peoples, we here with DJ Marlon B.
What's going on, G? How's everything, baby?
I'm straight, man. Earlier we showed the people about your DJing stuff, you know what I mean? But they didn't get to see the other side of you, which is the producing side.
Okay, well, you know, we're gonna get a little more personal today. This is a little bit of my record collection. Before MP3s, records, cassette tapes. Before that, 8 tracks, you know. But records go back pretty much, I think, probably the furthest type of media that you can have music on. So I love records. Scratching, the sounds of scratching, records. That's where it comes from, records, DJs and records. So I take pride in my record collection. Got Jay-Z's first album, you know, Ghostface's first album, Big first album, and a lot of first albums from a lot of people. I collect records. That's what I do. I'm a real DJ. People say it takes up space. That's cool. It's more of a cultural thing. It's more of a hip-hop thing. Hip hop started from records.
I think, yeah, because one day I went to Africa Bambaata's house, and man, I kid you not, there was no furniture there.
Yeah, it's probably made out of records.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. Just like this, the whole apartment.
House, yeah, exactly.
There was no furniture.
And that's what DJing is. That's what real DJing is. You gotta love your records. There's records in here. There's records there. These are old records. Earlier records.
Was this disco era here?
Nah, it's like Sugar Hill, like early hip hop, you know.
Yeah,
early hip hop is in here. Early hip hop.
That's the 70s right there.
Yeah, 70s, early 80s, late 70s. You know what I'm saying? Davey DMX, everything like that. And then you have your retro. You have some freestyle in there. A lot of 80s, early.
Judy Torres.
Yeah, exactly, stuff like that. So in here is more like vintage stuff.
More records, y'all. More records.
More records. Records.
Got some CDs growing over here.
A couple, you know. You gotta stay up to date. You want to stay way back in the days, you get left behind. So you gotta have, you know, learn a little bit about everything.
Tell us about this stuff right here.
This is just real easy, small home, pre-production stuff. You know, home studio stuff. Type. It's just a mixing board. It just allows you to hear different things through one unit. And
this, I know it's a stupid question, but what's this?
This is where it started. This is turntables right here.
The 1s and 2s, baby.
1s and 2s, you know?
Wow.
These are the 1200s. That's what DJ's been using for years. 1200s. Technique, 1200s. You know?
I remember a little song.
So that's real hip hop. You know, it's the advanced version, but this is where it started with 2 turntables and a mixer. Actually, before the mixer was around, they were doing, you know, scratching and so on and so forth, but eventually they created a tool for DJs called the mixer, and so it evolved from the disco era, you know what I'm saying, and then hip hop era. They just kind of tweaked it up more for hip hop performance.
What you know about this right here?
Everyone says, you know, my Adidas and Peter Piper, you know, historical. Everyone knows about.
Super old school. They're the champs though.
Oh.
Actually, Bone Thugs and Harmony outsold them. They're number 2 as far as a rap group selling records.
Bone Thugs is great, you know. Run DMC really put hip hop on the map too. Sugar Hill really did their job, you know. They did their thing, you know.
Yes, sir.
Even though there was plenty of hip hop artists before Sugar Hill that paved the way. Never forget about those people, but. You know, Sugar Hill made that first big
splash.
You know, took the Good Times beat from Good Times by Chic, the disco song, and made the hip hop version. That went big, and then after that, like, Run DMC was the next big, really huge rap
crossover appeal.
Huh?
They created crossover appeal for other hip hop artists.
Yeah, they got it more like, you know, cool. They had the gangster hats.
And they had the trends. The Adidas.
They set trends, exactly.
Yeah, they did everything that everybody's doing now. They
maybe
did.
like one of the first rap groups or rappers to maybe get an endorsement from a big
Right.
corporation. So, you know, that was like these things chipped away at the wall of resistance of the hip hop culture. These groups chipped through that wall and made it acceptable, hip hop somewhat acceptable, you know, like it is today.
Yeah, I love my old school. I don't know why.
Well, if it wasn't for the old school,
There wouldn't be no new school.
we wouldn't be here, you know.
Yes, sir.
When it started, I'm fortunate enough to be born in New York City where it started, you know, from the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, you know, Manhattan, New York. It's just a whole bunch of stuff together.
Matter of fact, in this era was electric boogie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Breakdancing, graffiti. It was a multifaceted aspect to hip hop culture.
It's a
Now it's just music, but before it was a lot of things.
It was a culture developed, I feel, by the youth who didn't have, you know, they weren't playing golf and they weren't, you know, it was from the inner city with some youth that had some expressions to express. Some people are great artists, so they did their art, and other people were better at maybe dancing, so they would break dance. Some people were really good with lyrics, and you know, so they would be MCs. And some people really just wanted to make people dance because they knew the latest trends in music, so they would play the music. That's the DJ. So altogether,
one big pot of gumbo.
It was just a whole it's a whole big pot out here of people, young cats out here in New York City, and I would hear the music out the window because people had boom boxes or what they call ghetto blasters or whatever you call it, you know, these big radios, and they would play Tila Rock, and they would play Spoonie G, they play Run DMC, they play a whole bunch of Fat Boys,
Furious 3.
Yeah, like everyone, they play everything.
Busy B.
Yeah, and it was great. And that's how I grew up. So growing up in that, see, a lot of people today, they're from different areas or maybe different eras, which is great, you know, because it has to progress and keep going. But, like, it's interesting when you grow up.
From the ground up.
Yeah, without the drum machines they have today, where it was just, like, you know, more of a tight-knit New York culture, where it was a language that was understood by the people who was living it. You know what I mean? And we didn't really care much what anyone else thought, the same way we still do it. But it was just, you know, it was more of a community back then, and it was really cool. It was a lot of fun. So that's how it was, and as time went on, the music changed, and the way that they made the music changed, and the stuff that they talked about changed, and, you know, after Run DMC started getting, you know, maybe endorsements, and other artists started getting endorsements, messages in the music changed a little bit. All type of stuff happened, and there's just different eras. You'll hear the beats if you know hip hop history. If you listen to the early stuff, it's more like disco beats.
And then they went to beat breaks, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. What happened was, it was disco, and people kind of rhyming over disco in the last of the disco era, and then the youth started having parties and, you know, and taking the break part of a record, which is usually a drum break, and looping that so someone could rhyme over it and extend the beat so that the MC had more time to rhyme. And from there, you know, they developed more technology to to produce samplers, so you could actually take these breaks and loop them, and so the hip hop production kind of evolved, and you know, and that was a great era because now hip hop really started to flourish, and there was a lot of groups, EPMD, R&B and Rakim, you know, Big Daddy Kane, a lot of early groups that adapted this sampling machine and started making beats with old funky records. Instead of having to play the songs over, they were sampling these old records, and the sounds, like, you know, from Funky Drummer, which is a very famous song by James Brown. That drum break was really big. You know, Lynn Collins' "Think About It," which is by Rob Bass and Easy Rock. It Takes Two. That was a really famous drum break that was used a lot. "Impeach the President" by the Honey Drippers, that was used a lot. You know, so and along with different bass lines and from jazz records, funk records, soul records, rock records. It was just the producers were going crazy, and the music was really, really great, beautiful, melodic, hardcore, whatever it was just really great. From Cool G Rap to Big Daddy Kane to De La Soul to Tribe Called Quest to Black Sheep to Jungle Brothers to BDP to Public Enemy. There's just so many great groups. Beastie Boys, LL Cool J, Marley Marl, great producer, you know, Main Source, Cypress Hill, a lot of great early hip-hop out, not early, but 90s hip-hop out where the music was just flourishing from the mid-80s, you know, JVC Force, Disc Masters. I could go on for days telling you all these great groups, but like the production, even though if you hear it now, sometimes it sounds kind of primitive or old, but it was a really great sound. That's my favorite sound. Now it's cool, it's great, you know, they do it with great drum machines and probably save a lot of money from paying for samples and make more money for themselves, which is great. And it's original music, which is cool. It just doesn't sound as funky for some reason, you know. It's not a band playing.
That 808.
Yeah, you know. So it's cool, and I appreciate all music. I am a DJ, so I listen to everything: reggae, whatever, disco, hip hop, new. Of course, I play all the new stuff. I have to do this in the clubs, but I'm just explaining to you some history on production of hip-hop and where it came, you know, how the timeline and how sounds have changed. And people still do sample a little bit when they could do it or afford it or get away with it. So it's pretty cool, you know. So, but that's pretty much, you know, it. So this is like the studio where you have the turntables.
Where the magic happens?
This is where the magic happens, and you have a lot of records of people, things that people sample all over here.
Haha.
And maybe I'll let you hear some of those. Maybe I'll let you hear some of those in a minute.
I think the everyday people would love to hear some from you.
So we'll get into that in a sec.
All right, cool.